even my sons, they follow exactly what we do. And a lot of people say, "Oh, I can't believe your kids really follow it." And I'm like, I'm not preaching at them. I'm actually sharing my life, and they see the example and they respect that, just like how I respect my parents the same way.
Well, hello, everybody. Dr. Ron Oberstein, president of Life Chiropractic College West, the chiropractic college, and I am excited to come to you today with another one of our Life West leadership lines. I've been waiting for this. I got Dr. Michael Yoon with me. Michael, welcome to the webcast, to the leadership line.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ron. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we saw each other, I don't know, maybe a month ago, month and a half ago, and when I was in Calgary, and I'm just thrilled to have you on. So it's exciting. I want to tell our viewers a little bit about Dr. Michael. 25 years in practice, graduated in 1998 as a Life West graduate, and stayed in the Bay Area. He's Canadian, but he stayed in the Bay Area for 3 years, working over in the peninsula just across the bridge from the college, and then in 2002, he ended up going back to Calgary or going to Calgary and opened his practice that he's still in today, 23 years later, 22 years later, has a phenomenal practice. In 2018, he has a chiropractic office, but he made it into a wellness center also, bringing in other allied health professionals. And, his job, of course, is just to see people chiropractically. Does amazing things. He's on a path to really change the world, change the health landscape of the world. After you hear more about him as we go through our talk today, you'll get an idea of his intensity and his knowledge, but also his passion to make this happen. He was born in Korea, raised there for 7 years. His father, which I do want to talk about this morning, so I won't necessarily share. He's a Grandmaster in Hapkido, which is a martial art that came out of Korea, I believe. He's right now, Michael is a instructor in the martial arts. He's very disciplined in his life. He's got three sons. His dad was also a healer, which I do want to talk about, Dr. Michael. But right now, he's got three sons. He's been married for 23 years, has three sons who I happen to meet. They're all looking at the possibility of being chiropractors, and he's just got it going on. So I am just thrilled to have you on the show today. And let's jump into it.
I'm super excited.
I think the place I want to start right now is just talk about your dad for a second. Obviously you were raised with, it sounds like a person who was very high stature, high morals, high discipline. Just give us a little rundown of that.
Yeah, absolutely, Ron. My father, he's 86 years old, still living a very, very healthy lifestyle, walks over 20,000 steps. But originally, he's a Grandmaster in Hapkido, and he trained presidential bodyguard, paratroopers, police. So he comes from that disciplined defense kind of background. But he's also a healer. He's an acupuncturist. And in Korea, they don't call it chiropractic, they call it corrective exercise. So I grew up in this culture of wellness, training martial art and healing art in a healthy and preventative way.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, 7 years old, you did. I guess your family decided to come to North America, right? And
Yes.
what did your father do when you guys came to Canada?
Well, it's a funny story. We came to Canada because Korea is a great place, but there's a lot of conflict between North and South. So for our future, we came back to come to Calgary. Most Koreans at that time opened up grocery store or laundromat, but my father opened up a martial art academy. And with a broken English, he had such charisma. He attracted a lot of students. They loved him a lot. We had over 6 studios all over Calgary, and we were a big, big academy. So that's what he did.
I
Immediately,
love
he
it.
just jumped into what he's good at.
Yeah, yeah, and then you've been studying at what age?
I started Hapkido since I was 3 years old,
Wow.
and I never stopped training. Even when I was in Life West, I taught students at the Life Chiropractic College West. I opened up a Hapkido club trained students of Life West twice a week. And after I graduated, I went to Gold's Gym and opened up a small class
Yeah.
and continued on.
Yeah. Yeah. And are you training now?
Yes, I still train. All my sons train. Even my wife is a black belt as well. But the whole concept of training is not to train to fight, but it's for wellness. There's a
Yeah.
lot of movement in training that's good for the spine and the body as well.
Yeah.
So we embrace that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
because I want to bring something up, and I think it's just amazing, and you know, um, and I learned this from my martial arts training, and I trained in a Korean art called Tang Soo Do. But I want to,
Oh, that's great.
yeah, there's something that I feel, um, and from talking with you and seeing your kids when we were together in Calgary, and doing that, I think one of the areas that anybody in life, but we'll just talk chiropractors right now, right? And it's really for anybody in life where we can always become stronger and improve upon. And I believe is one of the major factors of success is discipline. And I know that martial arts, is based on a principle, whether it's underlying or whether it's verbally said, of discipline. And obviously you were raised in this, so I think it might be second nature to you, but I want to kind of pull it out, you know, your feelings on discipline and how you see that weaving in and how people can actually bring more discipline into their lives.
I absolutely agree with you. Discipline is very, very crucial. I mean, the word discipline itself sounds like a negative connotation. You get punished, but it's really not. It's like self-control, like basically telling yourself, okay, even if you don't want to do it, even if you don't want to get up on time, you got to get up on time. You got to sleep on time. You got to eat certain way. You got to study. You got to do certain structured way. And martial art training really does embrace that philosophy. And you're right, it's a second nature for me. But most people don't really have that in their life, and they get excited for a moment, and all of a sudden they kind of lost that motivation. And you just got to keep going, whether it's good or bad. You just got to keep persistently, step by step, and you look backward and you see how far you have come. And I think that's the merits of discipline as well.
Yeah, yeah, and it's interesting too because you just said it. I think everybody looks for motivation, and and it's not wrong to do that, obviously, right? But everybody looks for
Mhm.
motivation. But when we're constantly looking, right, when we need motivation to get us out of bed or to do something in our office or to hire somebody to motivate us on a continual level, not on a beginning level, I think it's great. I feel like I'm a disciplined person, but I can fall out of discipline too. And sometimes I need something to pull me back in, right? Where I have to kind of check myself, right? And then I know at some point I'll slip, because it's like, it's life. But if that's my drug, that I constantly need to take motivation or look for motivation, there's a problem there. And I think
Right.
you hit it. In professionals, if they're always looking for that, they're never going to find that. They're going to go to the next thing, get different information, and never really complete something. So as you're taking people through, the motivation, and I want to relate this to business. If you're taking
Okay.
people through the motivation to become a black belt, because it's discipline. It's not like you go to a black belt factory and you buy a black belt. It's usually, it could be a 2 to 4 year process, to do that, right?
Right. Right.
How do you relate that, for our viewers into like the business world? Like what is it? Is it the milestones? Is it you get different belts that keep going? Like how would you relate that as a martial art, master?
Well, I mean, I like to set goals and have like small short-term goals, but I like to see myself, what am I going to be at 10 years down the road or 15, 20? How am I going to be physically functioning? How am I going to be with my family? How am I going to be at certain business state? So I have this big goal in mind, in front of me, almost like a carrot in front of me. But then it may be 10, 15 years, but then I try to reverse engineer it. So that way, what can I do right now to kind of inch it forward to that goal in the long run? So most people in martial art, they want to achieve black belt. But my father always say black belt is beginning. It's not the end. So that's what we accumulate with physical skills. And after that, you just kind of you basically get life experience. So I embrace that concept in practice as well. So if I'm treating every individual, what is the goal down the road? I want them to be healthy as much as possible, but in return, as a practitioner, I want to be making sure that I embrace the health so I don't fall apart as I treat people. So 10, 15 years down the road, I want to be as balanced and healthy as much as possible. That's pretty much my motivation as well.
Yeah, but when people see you, as a
Mhm.
whether it's in the martial arts studio or whether it's in your office, when you're taking care of the people who come to see you, they see or they feel that discipline, right? And by having that discipline, we don't have to throw that discipline out and say, dude, we just have to be who we are. And that actually
Mhm.
transmits to them being able to say, okay, I want to do this path, right? Of wellness, of health, right? And I'm going to do it. Of course, they can fall off. It's okay. But I think there's something to be said about internal discipline, which then comes out on the outside, which doesn't have to be in strength. It's just there, which then kind of cements us in what we do.
Yeah. So I mean, talking about that, I'm around people who are similar to me. My children follow my way. My wife follows our way. We have fun. I mean, we have a great time. It's not always strict and stern and give me 100 push-ups. It's not like that. During the time when we work hard, we work hard. When we train hard, we train hard. But when we have fun, we have great time. I'm very close to my family. I also have really close friends who also follow the similar philosophy. So it makes achieving that discipline that much easier,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah. But don't
So I
you
don't know
see
if that
this?
makes sense.
No, it does. It absolutely does. I actually look at a different word for discipline. I get, when people see discipline, they think of, put your hand out and get hit by a ruler, back in the old days, kind of.
Mm,
But I see a different word. I see the word
right.
discipline being the root of disciple. And and
Ah, yeah, I
and
like
and
that.
when someone is a disciple, whether it was the disciples of Christ or the disciples of wherever it might be, a disciple to me is a student and somebody who wants to learn, but they dedicate themselves, right, to learning and to being that. And I just know this. I was able to see the difference. I started martial arts. I was already practicing probably 10 years before I started martial arts. And when I started increasing my discipline within myself, because there were times I didn't want to train and I had to just suck it up and go, and every time I went,
Mhm.
I was happy I went, because my mind up here might not have wanted to do it. But I noticed it in my office. People started listening to me in a different light. I noticed that when
Ah,
I gave recommendations in my healthcare, people started listening to me very differently. I wasn't saying anything differently, but they were listening to me because the stance or the place that I was coming from was I was just more rooted in who I was. At least that's what I'm thinking. I don't know. I can't say for sure, but you know,
well, I think you just brought up a good point. You're building your own inner peace
yeah,
and inner confidence. So, I mean, I can see the discipline in you, Dr. Ron. What you do with Life West, that takes a lot of discipline. That takes a lot of courage and sacrifice. So when you're training, you're sweating and you just want to just die. You go through that hardship. And then once you go through that hardship, outside of it becomes a bit more easier.
right.
So when you're relaxed and you're training hard and you're just kind of rigid, like sweating and just meditate, and you're just like, oh, that felt good. And in practice, people notice that, you know what, this guy's in pretty good shape. He's got a good mindset. He has a good family. He's doing something right. If he's doing something right, maybe he's a good example of health. And I don't just do that just to kind of impress upon my patient to be like that, but it's for me
Yeah.
and it's for my family. And the positive side effect is what you just said. It's people listen to you because you built that inner peace, inner confidence.
Yeah, and thank you, because that was the word I was looking for, and I think when people that was so beautiful because I think what people feel when they go, if they walk into a martial arts studio or they go wherever they go to, maybe even to a chiropractic office, people are trained on some level to look for conflict, to look for abrasion, to look for
Yeah.
but instead of the peace, instead of the inner knowing, right? And they might look at a martial arts studio or a chiropractic office and see this being this physical place that's really about movement and pushing there or punching, if it wherever it might be in a studio. And the truth is, it's not about that. That's the
No.
outside. The inside is really about inner peace. It's about health. It's about wellness. It's about coming together. And it was so beautiful how you said that, because you know I'll just tell you this, that when I used to train doctors for 20 something years, right? And I always told them, always, to every single one that I trained, over the 500 to 1,000 docs, I always told them one thing: you got to fill your cup, because we're out there teaching every day in our offices, right? But who's filling our cup? So go be a student. Go do something. It could be
Yeah.
take music lesson. Go do art. Sports, martial arts. What is your passion? And or that you want to learn, and let somebody fill your cup where you become the student, right? And it's so important to express that. And that's what you're doing.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, the fact that I always believe that I'm always learning. And if I stop learning, I'm done. And you brought up a good point about being a student. Student eventually become a teacher and they pay it forward. So, I mean, my father taught me through martial art training, through healing art, that I love this whole preventative, healthy lifestyle. I mean, in our medicine cabinet, I think we had an Advil just in case, but we never used it.
Yeah.
It's diet, nutrition, exercise, and self care. And so I'm actually teaching that with my sons. They're extreme good martial artists, but I'm teaching them how to palpate, go through the
Yeah.
X-ray imaging with me,
Yeah.
explaining listing, that kind of thing. And I love doing that. And because I've been a teacher since I was 11 years old in martial art training, so it becomes a second nature.
Yeah.
So I like
And
sharing that. And if they can learn that and then pay it forward, I think that would be great.
yeah, and your dad taught you. I mean, talk about his healing. Like, what was he doing back in Korea?
Yeah. So as a martial artist, my father really emphasized in like flow of the energy, chi, nervous system. So he did acupuncture and he did something called moxibustion, basically using kind of a burning
Yeah.
herb to stimulate heat. And he also did adjustments. I mean, they don't call it chiropractic, but it's called corrective exercise. So I received that, and my father taught me how to do shiat, like pressure point massage, starting 8 years old. And every morning I went to his bedroom, I gave him a massage 30 minutes up until I was 18.
Wow.
So I was so good at it to a point where I closed my eyes, I was able to do it. So I do that in the morning and I train 5 times a week at our studio. I didn't get into trouble. I studied hard when training. And a lot of my friends said, "What are you doing? Why are you so busy?" And he goes, "Because I'm actually learning." And I
Yeah.
loved it. Right.
Yeah. And so how did you find chiropractic?
Well, I mean, I wanted to be a practitioner, a doctor, and I got exposed to, medicine, dentistry, and they're all good field. So I did shadowing. I saw dentists looking into people's mouth, and they're always kind of grabbing the neck and go, "Okay, that's not for me." And as a medical doctor, they do a great job, but their treatment is just prescribing. But I wanted to be hands-on. So one of the students' father, who is a PhD, said, "Hey, Michael, what do you want to do for work? Why don't you be a radiologist?" And I said, "Well, what does radiologist mean?" And goes, "So they look at the X-ray." And I said, "So they look at the X-ray and they treat, right?" And goes, "No, they just look at the X-ray and do a report." And goes, "Well, that's no fun. I want to be able to use my hand and see the imaging and do that." And along the course of the time, I found chiropractic. I did some shadowing at a local clinic here, many different ways, but I saw this clinic that actually really embraced adjustment and kind of an overall approach. And I fell in love with it. And I found Life West, and Life West was strong in academic, strong in philosophy, very strong in technique. And that's why I wanted to be. I didn't want it to be smart, book smart. I wanted to be kind of well rounded.
Yeah.
And so I just went to Life West.
That's so
jumpstart
great.
my education there.
That's so great.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Well, I want to jump into something, and I mean, look at Life West sounds like a very good martial arts studio, right? Strong in philosophy,
Yes.
right? Strong in the understanding, the science, but strong in the understanding, and then strong in the technique, right? Because you can have great philosophy, but without the technique, you can't really produce the goods as
Right.
compared to.
Very,
But
very similar.
yeah, very similar. Let's talk about something because I know this is something that's very prevalent with you, and we could attribute it to a lot of different things, but I want to talk about abundance mindset.
Okay.
Abundance mindset is critical to the changing of the world,
Mm.
right? And if we really are on this mission to create health and wellness, throughout the world, and to be able to get people to really understand that within them there's a healing power, that they don't have to go to the outside in first, go to the inside out first, right? And to be able to do this, I, abundance is we have to be able to see that and be clear on that, right? And I know from talking to you, my feeling you've got a very strong abundance mindset. So share with me, like, how would you talk about abundance?
Well, I mean, it's just interesting. When I first graduated, like any students, we lack experience. We had a lot of debt, right? So I was an associate, and one of the senior doctors said, "Hey, Dr. Mike, how do you feel? You ready to help people?" And my answer was very hesitant, that kind of thing. And he says, "Pull out of your wallet." He asked me. I said, "What do you want my wallet for?" So just pull it out, and I gave it to him, and he opened it up, and there was a $5 bill. So he pulled out $100 bill and he put it into my wallet. Okay, and he goes, "Don't spend it. Put it in your wallet." And he goes, "How do you feel now? How do you ready to tackle the world?" And I said, "Yeah, I feel good." And he goes, "You know what? It's your mindset. Because you feel lacked, you feel not confident." So from there on, I always say, okay, I need to really set my mind in a very positive way and focus on kind of a overall, like, I came out of school, I'm ready to tackle the world. I'm young, however, I'm willing to learn and get exposed to experience and people who know more, and not reinvent the wheel, and just kind of accumulate the knowledge bit by bit. And over a course of 25 years, I have done that. And even still then, I do kind of go through a little dip of, it's like falling out of that discipline. However, just to visualize good things, visualize great things that you're doing, that seems to kind of fulfill my cup. So that way I can kind of gain that confidence and create that
Yeah,
abundance within me.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And what you said was that what I heard was we're always the student, like you mentioned before. Like never be
Yes.
afraid of continuing to be the student, but be the student with people who can teach you and not take from you, right? Because as we know, there's a lot of people out there who want to take that $100 bill out of your wallet, and they can
And it's
rob
not
you.
about the money.
Oh, no, 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 no.
Yeah. It's not about the money.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the
Yeah.
money. I'm talking about internally. There's people who could take. They want to just take from you, not to forget the 100. They want to just take from you, right? I call them cows. They just want to come and suck the milk, but never put
Oh,
back.
yes.
You know,
Yes.
yeah, that's what I'm talking
Right.
about. And so find the teachers who want to increase you. Who want to that, and then we as students can give back to them, right? It's got to be this symbiotic relationship, right? You know, just like when you teach a martial arts, you get more from your students than you give to them, and they get more from you than that kind of thing that they give to you, and that's how we grow.
Well, one of the things that I've noticed is people expect too fast, too quick.
Yeah,
They start training a couple of weeks and they think they should perform like people who's been doing for a long time. Same goes with the clinical practice. It takes time. Just because you have a degree, it doesn't mean that you're going to be black belt at the moment.
yeah,
So you have to be disciplined, patient, and also have an abundance mind frame. And there's going to be always ups and downs, right? And so if there's a peak and then low, just kind of meet in the middle, and that sweet point, just kind of stay within the zone.
yeah.
So
I
that's
love it.
how I look at it.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. I have to share something with you. Every one of my daughters, our three daughters, my wife and I would train the people that I coach, the doctors I coach. I'd say the same thing. I'd say take $100 bill, and we did this with our
Oh,
kids. Put it in your
we did that
wallet
as
or in your
well.
purse, and never spend it.
Oh, wow.
You'll never be broke, right? just go about your life, do your thing. You know that's always there. You'll never be broke. You don't have to think about, you've always got the money there that you can always go from to create that mindset of abundance, and it's a simple thing, probably $100 these days is not much compared to, 5 years ago, but yeah, it's so beautiful. And I just, what kind of rings for me, Dr. Michael, is that we, as chiropractors, BJ Palmer, when he developed chiropractic, he went around the world. And when he was in Asia, that's where he got a lot of his chiropractic philosophy from. When you read the philosophy, there's a lot of Eastern that comes into it, from China,
I believe it.
India, these places. And you could just see it. And it's really where it kind of comes from. And I think he saw that, he saw acupuncture in China and, going and he labeled it innate intelligence. We could call it chi. We could call it whatever we want. But it's like, I just love this melding, of that world, of martial arts, of discipline, of whatever it might be, everything. Because in chiropractic, I think when we talk about healing, it really is. We know this. It's a mindset. It's got to come from above down, inside out, right? It's a mindset, and the more clear we are and more nervous system clear, the strong, but if we're still getting adjusted and have these negative thoughts or having whatever it might be, we're going to have an effect on us. But I just love it. I love the work you're doing. And I love that you're walking your talk and that you're doing what you do. And I just think it's incredible. So thank you.
Yeah. And talking about walking the talk, I get adjusted regularly.
Yeah.
I get massage regularly. I get acupuncture regularly, and I exercise regularly. And I tell patients to do that.
Yeah.
So if I'm not doing that and I don't believe what I preach, I'm a hypocrite, and that's not my style.
Yeah.
And so even my sons, they follow exactly what we do. And a lot of people say, "Oh, I can't believe your kids really follow it." And I'm like, I'm not preaching at them. I'm actually sharing my life, and they see the example, and they respect that, just like how I respect my parents. The same way.
Yeah, absolutely. Be the respect. Be the example. That's a great thing. Be the example that you want others to be, right? It's kind of like Gandhi, be the change you want to see in the world, but be the example. And as a doctor, as a teacher, as a healer, and as a leader, I think that those are critical. Those are critical. Hey, bud, thank you. We're kind of reached our time and our conversation. I just want you to know how much I appreciate you and how much you're bringing to our profession, you're bringing to the world and the work that you do and how you hold it with the respect that you hold it. And I have a lot of gratitude coming over across the border to you right now and always. So thank you for doing what you do.
Well, the feeling is equally mutual, and I totally respect you a lot. And I think the job that you're doing, spreading the words, and I'm going to do my part to, I've sent some students over to Life West, and I'm trying to educate the young ones so they understand. And then from there on, it becomes much more of an easier transition. So I'm grateful. Thank you for sharing me
Absolutely.
in this lifeline.
Absolutely. If I could shake your hand right now, I would be doing this, and I'd be saying,
I will.
I'd be saying, "Kamsamida."
Thank you.
Kamsamida.
Kamsamida.
All right, to our viewers, hey, thank you. Kamsamida means thank you. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in, day out. Thanks for, weekly. We drop these Life West leadership lines every week, and on the opposite weeks is our Life by Life Wests with myself and my wife, Dr. Mary. I just appreciate you guys spreading these. I know in my life, I tend to hold myself as being disciplined, but I know that I could always use more discipline, and when I say discipline, being that student and being really kind of holding myself. And I just and I appreciate you guys coming back. And I know there's a lot you could take from what we just talked about with Dr. Michael Yoon. And I hope that you spread this with others and share this. It's a simple link that you can send off because others need to hear it. And usually the people who are really in need are the people that we don't know about until it's too late. So I do appreciate you sharing this. I appreciate you guys, all that you do to create a brighter future for humanity. And as we grow in our profession and our mission to change the world through natural health, health and from the inside out, allowing people to understand, that there's an intelligence within them and that their ability to heal is far greater than they were ever led to believe. The more we teach them that, the better our world will be. And it's because of yourself, Dr. Yoon, and all the people out there doing the wonderful things that they're doing, and all the different professions that are teaching this. So thanks again. But for myself, for Dr. Michael, we'll come at you again in a couple of weeks with another life leadership line. And until then, keep loving those people around you and hugging them. And I will be at you again in a few weeks. So just take care and enjoy yourselves. Bye-bye.